Thanks very much, Gilly, and good morning. And let me extend my welcome to you as well, whether this is your first time here in Perth or whether you've been with us for the last 8 years. This is actually my first time at a Scottish conference, so I'm really looking forward to today. As the new CTO of Esri UK, I took over from Charles, who many of you will know, about 6 months ago, and so I'm really looking forward to meeting and speaking with many of you throughout the day, so please do come and say hi. So I want to take the next 15 minutes, as Gilly said, to walk us through our system and its capabilities, ArcGIS 2023. And our vision for ArcGIS really is that it's a comprehensive geospatial system that supports multiple communities. And that extends beyond the GIS professional community into these other communities of users who are making use of these capabilities within their own contexts. People like data scientists and imagery professionals and software developers. But what we're finding is that increasingly these groups of users are not just working in their silos, but they're increasingly collaborating and working together and really making use of the power of geography and location to participate in that bigger story. And one of the reasons that they are able to do that is because ArcGIS supports and manages all types of data. And that means that we're able to provide an ecosystem for different groups of users to come together and participate in that bigger story. You see, if I want to understand how the information in one system relates to the information in a completely different system, geography and location is one of the most powerful indexes, references, primary keys between the systems that helps us understand the context between them and merge and meld them together. You see, in the GIS community, we are in this quite unique position where we have technology which is ideally suited to model natural and built environments of our world, but not just in isolation, but increasingly to bring them together. And it's really location that facilitates that. It's what makes the GIS community unique in and amongst all of the other different information technology platforms and systems that you can go and use. And at Esri, we see our role in this as providing you with the professional capabilities, tooling, and in order for you to make use or to do the important work that you do. You know, that's our role, is to build the systems that help you achieve your goals. And so let me walk you through the capabilities of the system first, and then we'll look at how they come together. So firstly, I want to talk about the Living Atlas. It's the world's largest collection of geospatial content. It's things like maps and demographics and near real-time information. And it's actively curated for your use. It contains authoritative data from us at Esri, from our partners, and also from you and the organizations that you represent. You're increasingly fueling the Living Atlas and opening up data sets to be shared. It's not just about content either, it's also about spatial analysis tools and pre-trained machine learning models that you can plug into and use directly. And you're going to see some of this in action this morning. Smart mapping and visualization is probably the most tangible capability that we have within ArcGIS. I like to think of mapping as the language of geography, because it's how we convey spatial concepts to one another. And as humans, we find maps engaging because we can look at things spatially. We understand where the object locations are, and we see that visually, and that's important. But as we start to think about that, we also think about how one object and one location relates to another. And when we start to think about the relationships between these things, really we're starting to think about spatial analysis. And obviously, computers are a lot better at doing this than we are as humans. And so we have access to spatial analysis tools across the whole of the ArcGIS system. So for example, earlier this year, we made spatial analysis tools available in the new ArcGIS Online Map Viewer. And really what we're seeing is these areas of spatial analysis and data science come together. And that's being catalyzed by a lot of the advancements that we're seeing in the area of AI, which is fueling this genre of geo-AI. So talking more about AI then, spatial machine learning is where we can train algorithms to intelligently classify data and make predictions. And then we can use these trained models to automate the extraction of information from sensor data, things like imagery. And again, many of these models are available for you to use. They're already pre-trained. You can access them in the Living Atlas, and we'll see some of that in action. We've also integrated graph data with ArcGIS. So graph databases, they model how entities are connected, and they help us to explore and understand the relationships between them. Conceptually, it's similar to how we we model spatial relationships and explore those with GIS. And so ArcGIS Knowledge puts a graph database inside the ArcGIS system, which means we can start to take advantage of graph analytics. We also have tools to address the spatial analysis of big data. So ArcGIS Geoanalytics Engine takes the power of spatial analysis and allows you to point it at your existing Spark environments, your Spark data stores. That means you don't need to load that data into the ArcGIS system in order to benefit from spatial analytics. It's about taking the analysis to the data instead. So there's lots going on in the area of spatial analysis and all of those affiliated areas. But let's just switch gears a little bit and talk about field operations. So here we have our comprehensive field maps application, which is ideally suited for visualizing and collecting data. It supports things like location sharing and tracking. You can work online and offline with sync. It's really designed to support a distributed mobile workforce at scale. And then we have Survey 123 for our forms-based capture approaches, and then Quick Capture for capturing those rapid sets of observations. Now, one of the enhancements that we've made within Field Maps recently is to bring support for Windows 11 for the first time through the Windows subsystem for Android. And I know that that's something that many of you have been asking for, so I'm really pleased to be able to confirm that's now available. Okay, data management and editing. So this is about modeling the relationships, the behaviors of information in different contexts. So probably the easiest way of describing this is to use an example. We've spent a lot of time at Esri modeling the utility space, understanding how that works and modeling it within software. So utility network within the ArcGIS system, it understands about connectivity of these systems. It understands how to perform analysis like flow and tracing across a network. That's really important in the utility space, but it's going to be really different in a different context. Like, imagine modeling an airport, or roads and highways, or hydrology, pipelines, or indoor mapping. We've got information models for each of these domains, and they're really different. But what you can imagine is something that I said earlier. This sort of starts to bring this to life, because if we can accurately model information within those individual contexts, think how powerful it is when we start to bring those together and we start to collaborate and enrich that macro digital twin environment. And that's what we're seeing happening more and more. Real-time visualization and analytics is about the tracking, monitoring, and alerting of continuously changing information. Now, sensor networks and IoT are growing rapidly, and you might not be sure what that means, but if you've got a phone in your pocket or you're wearing a smartwatch, you've got a device which is connected to the internet. That's possible then for it to receive and send information, depending on how you want to manage that. You can participate in some of these workflows. So imagine the ability to bring that capability into ArcGIS and be able to make decisions in real time using up-to-date information so that you can make the best decision at any point in time. And that might be taking advantage of understanding where different objects are because they're moving around and their location is changing, but it might also be stationary objects where the attributes of those objects are changing. But either way, the point of integrating real time is to give you the ability to make the best decision at any point in time. ArcGIS is a comprehensive 3D system, and really 3D capabilities are available across the whole of the ArcGIS system. And 3D is increasingly important for analysis, not just for visualization, and we're seeing it used more and more in editing workflows as well. Now at Esri, we've been putting a lot of effort into bringing real geography into game engines. So game engines are these immersive experiences which were originally designed by games developers to help really kickstart the development process. But over the last 25 or 30 years, these have been refined, so they're effectively simulators of our environment now, with access to things like physics engines and weather, lighting and animation, visualization effects. So you can imagine how powerful it is to integrate real geographies into these environments, and that can be used for things like consultations and also to support digital twins. We've really seen a huge uptake and explosion, really, in the imagery community, with remote sensing techniques, increasingly autonomous generating information products that help us to monitor our environment and to track change. And ArcGIS is powerful for visualization, for analysis, and for sharing of this information. And it also supports map and data production, as well as the management of all types of formats of imagery at very high volumes. What we're really seeing here is the access to remote sensing techniques is being democratized. It's becoming much, much easier for us. You know, you can go on a website now, or you can get an app, and you can task a satellite to generate you some information. Or you can fly a drone autonomously with a drone-in-a-box solution, and within a couple of hours, you can have that information back and you can be using it. I mean, that's incredible agility that we didn't have a few years ago. Lots of our partners are doing really important work in this space, and again, you're going to see lots of imagery in action this morning, and some of the techniques that we can use to exploit some of the information and get insight using that. And really, in response to that growth, we've put a lot of effort into the area of reality capture, which fuses together 3D GIS and imagery and uses photogrammetric processing to produce new information products like 3D meshes and point clouds, digital surface models, and true orthos. And really, we've been working in this space for some time now. We've had products like SiteScan and Drone2Map, which you'll see very briefly on the screen in a few moments. But over the last year, we've released ArcGIS Reality, which is really about taking these existing approaches that we have and applying them to operate at scale, really targeting those organizations who are fueling content for the GIS and the digital twin communities. And you can get access to ArcGIS Reality as a standalone product, Reality Studio, or you can access it through an add-in for ArcGIS Pro, an extension for Pro. Okay, so that's really a whistle-stop tour of the capabilities of ArcGIS. Now at Esri, the way that we build products is we take capabilities and we work them together to particularly tackle specific workflows that are suited to the types of work that you do. And that's how we build applications. And then we bring all of those applications together within the ArcGIS system, which is comprised of these 4 pillars. So let me just walk you through these. Firstly, we have a desktop software pillar, where we have ArcGIS Pro and all of its extensions and capabilities. Pro is our GIS and our data science workstation. It's been specifically designed to work with local data, to connect into ArcGIS Enterprise and ArcGIS Online, and to work with OGC services. Secondly, we have our server software pillar, where we have ArcGIS Enterprise. It's GIS infrastructure for your organization. And you can deploy ArcGIS Enterprise on premises or in the cloud, and it comes with all of the capabilities that I've talked about today. Now, one of the areas of focus for us is about bringing modern technology approaches to ArcGIS Enterprise, to the deployment and the management of our systems. And one way that we're doing this is we've introduced ArcGIS Enterprise on Kubernetes. Now, Kubernetes is a cloud-native operating system, and the option sits alongside our existing deployment options on Windows and on Linux to provide greater flexibility. So I'll be talking a bit more about cloud-native and cloud-optimized and some of the approaches that we're taking in R&D and in the development of the ArcGIS system later today in the Road Ahead session, so do stay around for that. So our third pillar is our software as a service pillar, where we have ArcGIS Online. It's the world's largest mapping and data sharing platform. And really, we're investing a lot of effort into bringing capabilities into software as a service, into SaaS, because it lowers the barrier for entry for people, and it provides access to a wider audience at a low point of entry. It's really about unlocking some of these capabilities that might have been previously difficult to access or tied up or required specialist knowledge. And increasingly, we can do that through software as a service. And then finally, we have our platform as a service pillar, where we have ArcGIS Platform. Really what this does is it takes everything that I've spoken about this morning and it addresses the needs of developers by providing access to ArcGIS via an API. And there's a simple, clean, consumption-based business model that goes with that. And then at the heart of the ArcGIS system, we have the portal. The portal is a really important part of the ArcGIS system. It's what brings it all together and holds the system together as one. It supports the system of engagement for collaboration and sharing. It provides capabilities of its own. It's responsible for identity and security. So it knows who I am and understands who you are and what you're allowed to see and what I'm allowed to see. It provides content management. It provides access for collaboration and sharing. So it really is what brings the system together. So there we have it. ArcGIS 2023 is a set of rich and powerful capabilities that you can deploy on premises, you can deploy them in the cloud, you can access them via software as a service, or via an API. And then they are curated into targeted applications by us at Esri, by our partners, and also by you, the GIS community of users. You know, you bring the ArcGIS system to life with the applications that you build and the information and the content that you put into it and that you share. So, this is ArcGIS 2023. Have a great day with us. I'm really looking forward to meeting many of you throughout the day.